2021, 7:30 p.m. and I call this meeting of the Design Review Board to order. I'm Mark Lusing, Board Chair. I would like to confirm that all members and applicants expected on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, members, when I call your name, please respond. Bob Dermody.
Here.
Nelson Hammer.
Here.
Len Karen.
Present.
Chad Riley.
Here.
Deborah Robinson.
Here.
And Steve Tanner.
Here.
Wow, full boat. Okay. Also attending are town staff Rana Dorfer, and Elisa Lichman. So I'm going to call out the applicants. If you could state your name when I call out the address, please. 33 Highland Avenue, Winters Home Service.
California Fast Signs.
25 Central Ave, Fix-It Guy.
Bob Thompson.
And North Hill, 865 North Hill Avenue. No, 865 Central Avenue, North Hill Life Care.
Evans Huber, counsel for North Hill.
Roger Gurney from North Hill.
Dan Catches with VHB.
Justin Moscow with VHB.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to this open meeting of the Needham Design Review Board, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. We've been directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are encouraged and allowed to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Design Review Board is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, the Design Review Board page, identifying how the public may join. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. DRB meetings do not typically require allowing public comment. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other people may see you and take care not to screen share your computer unless the chair approves. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. And please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate record. All the supporting materials that have been provided to members of this board are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. I'd like to review the meeting procedures for tonight's meeting. I will introduce each applicant on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will take comments or questions from Design Review Board members. After discussion, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. The building department requires electronic submission of building permit applications. A copy of your Design Review Board application, stamped and noted for the type of approval that it receives, will be emailed to the applicant by the Design Review Board support staff. That can then be attached to your building permit application. So we will now start with the first item on the agenda, and that is Winters Home Service, 33 Highland Avenue. Carol, why don't you go ahead?
Awesome. This is actually just to replace the existing Lexan inserts. Originally, I had submitted an application to replace both the front facade and the side facade, as well as putting something up on the front pylon sign, which would just be kind of like a flat aluminum sign. But after going back and forth between, what was it, I believe, apologies, Liza, and she had mentioned that I guess some of the things have changed. So I was only allowed to actually pull the permit for the front sign, and the secondary sign we'd have to go through special permitting for. But Dave Roche actually believes that all the signs should be approved because they are pre-existing. So I wasn't sure how the grandfather clause actually works. So right now for this meeting, I did just bring, you guys have the submission for the front main sign, which it's just honestly replacing the existing Lexan insert. But I do have ready to screen share, the other parts of the application that we're applying, we would like to apply for. Again, we're just only switching out the inserts for the old signs for the fitter female, which we actually did. I believe it was about like 4 or 5 years ago. We came in front of you guys for that, and obviously they're there and they got approved. The main pylon sign, I know, may or may not actually be staying there. I guess I know you guys are widening the roads along that strip, and because of widening the roads, that sign may actually have to come down because there's just not going to be enough room for cars to either pull in, drive by. It's just not, it's going to be a visibility issue. So I was told that there's a chance that that sign might have to come down per town order, but that is up in the air. So we were hoping at least we could at least get the 2 wall signs hopefully approved, because again, Dave Roche originally sent me an email saying they look like they're there, they had been there, and it looked like it would be fine to just swap them out. But,
Well, there's nothing in your application about those signs, so.
yes, I was told.
So I'm just going to say, let's go ahead with the sign you've submitted now.
Okay,
And because you didn't include those, you can bring them back next time. There's really nothing else we can do.
really? Okay.
I mean,
damn.
if you can't flash it up there and we can review it and talk about it. We could have an informal review,
Okay,
but there are some issues that we're working on as far as managing it when we can't
no
get
worries.
into the office and see the files. And so there have been some problems at times. So, but at this point, you didn't include those other images. So I really would rather just discuss this one first, get it resolved, and then we can move ahead on the other ones, whether it's by special permit or by a regular application. But
Okay.
since they aren't included, I thought I told Dave that if you wanted to include them, we could at least look at them. But they aren't
I was
included,
told
so
I had
let's just
to.
move on with this one.
Okay, sounds good. Right, so the sign itself is the main front sign. It's approximately, 2.5 feet by, 166 inches wide. Again, we're going to just be replacing out the existing Lexan insert for that currently says the fitter female. That's going to be coming down, and the winter's plumbing, heating, and cooling drain service sign is going to be coming up. Those are their branded colors. They have to use the green background with, the green and the blue and orange lettering. Oh, excuse me. So unfortunately, I'm kind of stuck with those color schemes. We originally had done white, and we thought it looked much nicer and more eye-catching, but the brand had told him he has to use a green background.
Could you quickly tell us the letter height? I'm not seeing that unless I'm on the wrong page that has that.
I didn't break down the actual letter height for the plumbing and heating, so I apologize about that. It's approximately about 10 inches for the P, probably about 9.5 foot.
Okay. All right. In the end, you're probably better off with the green background. We're not big fans of bright white panel signs. So let's start with the questions. Steve Tanner.
This sign looks like you try to put as much information in it as possible. It's way too crowded. Winters is the name of the company and should be the main element. And this plumbing, heating, cooling, drain cleaning, those should be bullet points listed on the side or something. I really think this layout needs to be reworked completely. It's also 1 foot, it's also 33 square feet, and existing non-conforming signs were grandfathered in until 1995. So I don't know if there's a question about the size of the sign, but the layout, I think it should be changed quite a bit.
Okay. Chad, do you have any comments?
Sure. I would also say that we see a lot of submittals from fast signs, and you guys really should know better on terms of the minimum amount of materials that we need to review a submittal. There's a listing of what should be submitted. So in addition to the letter height, there should be sections, details about how it's going to be mounted. If it's, in this case, maybe it's an existing cabinet, but a lot more notes and things calling those out would be helpful. And I agree both about the green background being better than a white background, and also just there being way too much text on the sign. Really, the purpose of it is to identify the business location, not to serve as an advertisement for the range of services they provide. And so I think, Winters in and of itself is not very descriptive of what they do. And so in some cases where that's been the case, we've allowed a small bit of text to just kind of clarify what the nature of the service is. But if it was, I would like to see it primarily with Winters as the name and a much smaller indication of plumbing, heating, or something that succinctly outlines the services.
Okay, Len?
Yeah, I agree largely with Chad and Steve. It's awfully busy, and it looks cluttered and disproportionate with the services in relation to the name. I would love to see the actual name of the company be emphasized a little bit more, declutter or reduce, as Chad was mentioning, kind of the size and layout of the services. And I think we should focus a little bit more on the actual business itself. So I'm in line with Steve and Chad on this.
So Carol, I'm going to stop for a second and just ask you a question. What's the flexibility on the design of this thing?
I'll see if they have another version of the logo that's a little bit more elongated, without the green, the orange and blue striping, because unfortunately we're really stuck within the height constrictions. I'm supposed to leave a certain amount of space, top and bottom, away from the brand, but I can go and talk to them and see if they have a more, again, elongated version that doesn't have as much of the extra accents above the word Winters, so that way we can make Winters larger, and then everything else smaller proportional.
Okay. Nelson?
I agree with all my colleagues. It's too crowded. I'd like to see Winters emphasized and the other words de-emphasized. That's it for me.
And Bob Dermody?
Yes, thanks. I concur with my colleagues. Let me just put it in my words. I think it was Chad who might have mentioned that Winters isn't exactly explicit, so this might be a case where plumbing and heating, but that's all that would be needed, I think. And I would definitely like to see same-day emergency service eliminated from the sign. That's a really specific down in the weeds service they provide. So yeah, that's what I have.
Okay. Well, Carol, I'd suggest that whether you enlarge Winters or it stays the same size and you reconfigure the sign, for instance, the blue line that Bob was just discussing, same-day service, if that line became the plumbing, heating, cooling, and drainage or something, you use that for that information, then Winters could sit up in the middle of the sign. I think it would look much better. So at this point, when we can, we try and put notations on and then approve it as noted. But I think this one needs so much work. I can't really come up with a simple way to make a few notations. So why don't we continue you to our next meeting, which would be February 1st.
February 1st. Okay.
And you can take a shot at talk with them, revise it. Sounds like this is a chain or a
so the nationwide chain.
So they'll give you a little time to go through some research on them and kind of get it reoriented, and at that point we should have advanced on. We'll also keep discussing the other signs so we know what's going on with those. And you can probably put it all back to. I hope to be able to help you get it put back together for a full review of everything you're interested in doing at that meeting.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks. All right, thank you.
No, no problem. Thank you.
The next item is 25 Central Avenue. Fix-It
Do we need
Guy.
a motion to continue this item on February
No.
1st?
I don't think so. I think we just, it's advisory at this point. They're still, it's still open for review. That doesn't close the discussion. Everything can, so it's just continued.
All right, sounds good.
It's like we're still talking about it, basically. Evans, the lawyer, probably is telling me, no, you got to get a motion.
We can move it if you want.
I don't particularly.
Fine.
So,
I move that we don't move.
I was muted. I said, I think you're fine.
okay, thank you. So let's get back to 25 Central Avenue. Do you want to start, Bob?
Okay, thank you. Yes. Essentially, it's a new location. The Fix-It Guy Appliance Parts and Service is applying for a wall sign with individually illuminated letters, fixitguy.com, and the fixitguy.com is actually his whole name. It's not just his website. That's the name that he goes by. And they would be illuminated channel letters, blue and red, with that sit on a cabinet below. That's going to be a black background with an illuminated white letter reading appliance parts and service. The sizes of the Fix-It Guy letters I'm proposing are 18.5 inches, and the cabinet below is 14 inches with an overall length of 170 inches, which is approximately 38 square feet. Subsequently to my application, I believe that only 32 square feet may be allowed for this. So I could certainly reduce the size of it such that Fix-It Guy, the channel letters would be 17 inches high, and the appliance parts and service could be 13 inches high by 12'9", which would bring it into 31.8 square feet, just under 32 square feet. If that would, if that's going to be a problem.
Okay. Questions, Deborah? Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is the size is the thing that was objectionable to me, but if it comes down to be within the 32 feet, that'll be much better. In these images, the letters don't read very well against the brick. I mean, I suppose when it's illuminated, it'll, or the bottom ones will.
Yeah, the fixitguy.com letters will have a white return on the letter, so that will, as you come at from different angles, that'll allow it to have a better contrast with the darker brick background, so that the channel letters in particular will stand out better than just the darker color on a dark background. That's usually a no-no, but with the white returns, I believe that will help it to read much better.
What's that other sign on the building? Is that a temporary one?
Yes, I think it's a temporary one for either the contractor or for someone who's doing the work, some work inside the building. That's going to be removed right away.
Okay, Steve?
Are these illuminated by LEDs or neon?
LEDs. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my only question.
Nelson?
I'd like to see the letters just a tiny bit smaller. The Fix-It Guy, I think, seems to be too close to the band below it. Other than that, I'm okay with it.
I guess, Bob, I'd ask you, does it rest on the appliance parts and service box
Yes, it does. It
so
does.
those letters are actually attached to that box.
Right. It serves as the appliance parts and service cabinet below serves as a sort of a raceway
It's the race.
for all the wiring
as well as a illuminated part for to tell people that there's appliance parts and service. So the letters
Okay.
do rest on top.
Len?
My questions have been answered. I'm okay.
Okay. Bob, anything additional?
Yeah, thanks. The Fix-It Guy letters are 4 inches deep, front to back.
Yes, yes, they are.
How thick is the box for appliance
The
below?
same. They're
Same.
going to be both the same. Yes, sir. Yeah.
And they'll be mounted flush on the
Flush
front
to the-
face?
Flush to the brick. Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Chad?
I agree with the size. And then I think also similar to my comments on the last one, we really are supposed to have more in the way of construction drawings and details and how it's going to be attached to the building. The inspector is going to need that anyway. So those drawings, have to be done. So it really is not providing what we asked for, but I think we'll end up, seeing if we can't come to some agreement on it. I would say, I guess the overall length of the size of the appliance parts and services in that box is kind of driven by Fix-It Guy, but somewhat similar to our last comment, it seems like the about 40% of the sign is that appliance parts and services, and the text really should be a little bit smaller and the box thinner in proportion to the Fix-It Guy. We really should have the emphasis on the name of the business. I'm not, without redrawing it, it's hard to say, but I don't think that those letters need to be as big as they are, or that box is 14 inches tall or proportionally reduced.
Well, I'm taking it down to meet the 32 square feet down to 13 inches. I could bring it down to 12. That's not, that,
Yeah. Well,
it's a subsidiary information, so.
Yeah, exactly. My thought is just that the box was a little thinner and the letters were smaller. You'd also have a little bit more black around the letters,
Mhm.
and just proportionally, there'd be more emphasis put on the name of the business instead of it being, nearly equal with the appliance parts as that black box below.
Well, I certainly could, as I said, to get it to the under 32, I was talking about 17 and 13, but I certainly could make it 17 and 12, something like that. That would I might think that might address what you're speaking about. So I certainly could make that appliance parts and service 12 inches high, and then bring proportionally down the copy as well.
What is the size of the copy as it's illustrated? What?
It was, well, originally it was a 14-inch cabinet, and I believe the appliance parts and service was, I believe, 8 inches. So, I mean, I could bring it down to at least probably, if it went down to a 12-inch, at least down to a 6-inch letter, and reduce the height that way.
Yeah, I think that would be an improvement. You just need more negative space in that box. Those letters should be,
Okay.
maybe they even need to be 5 inches high. They're really just, as you said, they're sort of extra information, but they're not essential to the name of the business or identifying it. I'm a little troubled by the size, even at 17, but I recognize that that's a difficult location on a sort of busy spot on a curve in a road, and it's recessed back when the buildings adjacent to it are not recessed back.
He does have a 60-foot front, so it is a pretty, although the door is sort of off-centered, but he does have a decent frontage,
Yeah. So I think, I think it gets seen, and normally if this was like at the street, we would be talking more about something around the 12 to 14-inch high letter height for those. So I'm suggesting like maybe we drop the Fix-It Guy to 16, and you shrink that bottom cabinet to 12, and then those letters inside the black cabinet be 5 inches high. I don't know what other members think.
I think that's good.
I agree with that.
I do. I agree.
I have no problem with that.
Good.
All right, so I would accept a motion that we approve this with the following conditions: that the lower cabinet be 12 inches high with 5-inch lettering, and that the main fix-it guy sign lettering be reduced to 16 inches high.
I make a motion
moved.
to
Second.
approve the
Okay,
sign at that size.
okay. So that we have a roll call vote. Bob Dermody,
Aye.
Nelson Hammer,
Aye.
Len Karen,
Aye.
Chad Riley.
Aye.
Deborah Robinson,
Aye.
Steve Tanner,
Aye.
and the chair approves. Okay, so I'll mark up some documents and we'll send them back to you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. Good evening.
I'm going to leave this meeting now. I have a few things to take care of. Thank you.
Okay,
Mark, I also want to, just in interest of being public disclosure, so my day job, the company we work for, VHB, is a consultant of ours. So we have a current active project with them, and we've done some other projects in the past with them. I don't believe it compromises my ability to be impartial, but I wanted to make that clear in case anybody thought I had a conflict of interest.
yeah, no, that's all I need to do is announce that you do know them, but you aren't involved in this project, correct?
Yeah, I don't work directly on the projects that we
Okay,
are employing them on.
okay.
And I should stick my 2 cents in, Mark, that I am involved in this next project and I'm recusing myself from any comment. If you'd like me to stick around for questions and answers, I'd be happy to.
Okay, well, you're welcome to watch. So this is for 865 Central Avenue, North Hill. Evans, I'll turn it over to you and your team.
Thank you. Yes, this is a proposed expansion of the parking area and the fire lane at North Hill, 865 Central. Right now, on the northeast and eastern sides of the property, there's a fire lane that is about 12 feet wide. And adjacent to it is a flat area where people have gotten in the habit of parking. Staff and residents have gotten in the habit of parking because in some cases it's more convenient to where they want to go in the facility than the existing parking areas. So North Hill has made a decision that to improve safety, they're going to proposing to widen the fire lane so that it's the compliant 20-foot width, and then also add 75 parking spaces along the edge of the fire lane, some of which will be parallel and some of which will be 90-degree spaces, which will provide good compliant parking for those residents and staff who want to use it there as opposed to the other parking areas. So that will require some site work, grading, and landscaping. So we are here before the DRB. We're going to be going to the planning board next, but we are here to present this information to you. See if you have any comments, questions, concerns, and hopefully you'll give us your approval.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because you're modifying an earlier approval that's been modified before, I found the initial site plans to be a little confusing because I'm looking at all sorts of new parking layouts that actually aren't a part of this, but they look like they're new. So I appreciate that you described that it really is just that, what I call that area below the buildings as it curves around on that hillside. Is that
yes,
correct?
if you look at the sort of all one of the earlier pages in the presentation sort of shows all the sheets together And we're really talking about what's in the northeast quadrant and then sort of the eastern side.
Yeah, so that's C2 for the other members. That's really, are you naming that
And
road?
do you want
paving
to
road, or is it
screen
not?
share and maybe just walk us through this a little more, or?
Sure, Justin?
Yeah, I think
I
Dan's
can
gonna
pull that
share
up.
his screen. Him and I were just texting on the side saying we should bring up an aerial.
What's that? So starting with this aerial, you can kind of see it's at the end of this parking lot, goes north to south. That's the existing paved roadway. And then this is a little closer up. You can see the paved and the gravel shoulder that Evan's described.
So you get where the cars are currently parking now in this aerial is not paved.
Correct.
These are not sort of designated parking spaces, but they've become de facto parking spaces.
Okay, it's, is it on the far end? Is it pretty hilly? Is that what I'm seeing on the, as you go to this, to the right of the image? I don't know if that's south or north. I find north-south orientation confusing, but.
So on this screen, north is to the left,
Okay.
and there's a fairly steep
there it
drop
is.
off there.
And on the south side, it connects back up to the other existing parking?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, why don't we start with any board comments, Chad?
I mean, it looks straightforward enough, and my sense is that if it's not violating any kind of limitation or restriction on the number of parking spaces, and it's something that's happening anyways and potentially compromising a fire lane, then it probably is just as well to memorialize it with proper spaces. It looks to me like, just from scanning the drawings, but there's also some bioretention and other things that are associated with it. So if maybe we could also just have a comment about if there's any impacts on drainage or other environmental impacts from doing these. But my sense is, as long as it's nothing that would draw the attention of the planning board in terms of quantity of spaces, then it's probably just as well to go ahead and formalize what's happening unofficially anyways.
So we are going to, after the DRB, we are going back in front of the planning board because we need further site plan review and some special permits from them relating to the parking. There are in place. I mean, as you know, as Mark referred to, this has been the permits for this have been amended several times. There's currently in place, with the most recent iteration of the construction and development, there are permits or amended permits which allow what's there now, but there are some waivers as part of those permits for example, the number of parking spaces and certain parking spaces which are non-compliant, certain existing parking spaces. All of these 75 new parking spaces are going to meet all design criteria under the current bylaw. We will need to, because they're elsewhere on the site, there are still some non-compliant spaces. We're going to have to go through the special permit process for that. But that is basically asking for special permits for things that have already previously been permitted. And then they'll also be doing site plan review.
And then could you just also remember the civil engineer's comment on impacts to drainage, if anything's being improved through this process?
Sure.
Yep. So the bioretention areas you mentioned are providing the water quality treatment for all the pavement, both the 20-foot driveway as well as the parking areas, per both state and local requirements. And in terms of quantity, it's also, there's the design is consistent with the original design and is not creating any negative impacts. And we've preliminarily reviewed that with this town engineer.
Okay, Deborah?
And I guess my one final question is just, it looks like it's, a fairly functional utilitarian part of the site. So I'm gathering based on the drawings that there's no particular landscape improvements other than, some sort of planting at the bioretention area. But are there other just kind of visual site impacts of the project once it gets implemented?
Sorry, Evans?
Roger, did you want to respond to that?
Yes, the landscaping activities beyond the bioretention on the east side of this roadway is really just going to be seeding back to natural.
Yep.
There may be a little bit of planting along the edges of the building, and there are 2 existing walkways leading out of the building that are getting handrails added for safety, and the walkways themselves being reconstructed. Otherwise, there is no landscaping.
I'm not suggesting it necessarily needs it, but it's just good to cover that.
Yeah. And you're absolutely correct. It is more of the utilitarian side of the site.
It does look like it's fairly steep off that edge, the slope, after the sort of retention basins.
The grading of this site existing is steep. And with the fill that we're going to need to add in for the parking and roadway, we'll be making some of those areas a little bit steeper.
There it is.
But it all end up focusing off and matching up with existing grades, except for the exemption along the conservation restriction lines, where we'll be putting in a very small retaining wall. And I've had conversations with Dave Roach about the retaining wall. He has no problems with them.
Okay, because we do have a new bylaw about retaining walls, and if he feels like you're triggering it, he'll let you know.
Yeah, no, he had no concerns with it.
He most certainly will.
Deborah, do you have any questions? Comments?
So is that a fence at the edge of the parking of some sort that we're seeing on all these, the row of the dots?
Wood guardrail is proposed along the
wood
outside
guardrail?
of the parking.
I don't have any other comments.
Len, anything?
Oh, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bob?
Yeah, hang on a sec. Let me get back into my, okay. Yeah, I got a few questions, but I fear they may be more planning board or conservation commission, but just issues on my mind, if you don't mind. Are there accessible spaces planned in this improvement?
There are none planned within these 75 spaces, but on a campus level, there we have well more than the required number on a campus.
Just more curiosity. And will there any?
If I
go ahead.
If I could add further accessibility questions, the majority of the wings that are along the backside of this building at grade are about a half a floor elevation off of the floor in grade. So the only way to get into the building would be through walking upstairs. So egress for handicapped accessibility in those locations is very, very difficult.
Okay. Is there any new lighting proposed for this project?
Yes. Dan, if you could show them the inside edges where the lights are.
This is also shown on the last sheet of the drawings that were submitted to you.
Yep.
So the poles dot the inside.
And is there a drawing showing the light standard, what it looks like and how tall it is? And I apologize if it's there and I didn't see it.
We do have, this is the fixture
yeah.
that's being proposed.
Okay. How tall might those be, the poles that they're on? Or I guess maybe the better question, or another question might be, is it, I haven't been up to North Hill in a while and presume there's lighting throughout the campus. So is it sort of picking up on that theme?
The lighting along the back side is going to be for lighting of the road and parking. It is down lights. The lights that are on the campus right now are more of a globe that casts light all around, the street light. So the lighting look, as far as the fixture is concerned, is different. But again, it's back of the house, it's utilitarian, and it's there being put in there for safety.
Okay. Accessible, and then I guess that's it. I thought there was one other thing I might have had, but I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. I think that all my questions were answered. I did look at the landscaping a little more closely just to see, but also I'm aware of that area of the site, and it's sort of a natural forest going on there. There's a little bit of open space as on the slope, and you'll have a new slope, but I'm comfortable with the sort of modest amount of planting that ultimately will be going into those basins. I'm sure that helps how they function. So I don't have any other questions or comments.
Oh, actually, Mark, I thought of one, if I may.
Sure.
And maybe this was spoken to, or maybe it's a different board, but will trees be removed to accomplish this project?
There is some clearing of trees that'll have to take place. All of it is inside North Hills, I should say, is on North Hills side of the conservation restriction area. So nothing in the conservation areas will be touched.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that was very good. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I would take a motion to approve as submitted in modifications to North Hills site plan and the development of, forget the name of the road again.
Yeah, well, it's known as Bayview Road.
Bayview Road. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we vote Bob Dermody,
Yes, approve as noted.
Len Karen,
Approved.
Chad Riley,
Approved.
Deborah Robinson,
Approved.
and the chair approves. So, and as I mentioned to the earlier applicant, we are in the process of sort of modifying our information on the website as we figure out how to transfer information during this whole approach to meeting. So somebody did drop off a set. I appreciate that to my house. So I will stamp those, and Evans, I will get them back to your firm, and we will keep a copy for our records. So I appreciate that you getting those to us. And
Sure. So just a couple points on that. One is we can certainly have somebody come and pick them up because a lot of us are not using the office these days.
I've already had an offer from Roy Kramer.
Well, when I said someone, I meant Roy.
Yeah. Okay.
But also we are going to be making our submission to the planning board by this Friday. So if there's a opportunity to get that done before Friday, that would be great.
That won't be a problem. We'll get them for you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks all you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Were there any questions or comments on the minutes of December 7th, 2020 meeting? Okay, I would take a motion to approve the minutes of December 7th, 2020.
So move.
Second.
All right, and we vote Bob Dermody,
Yes.
Nelson Hammer.
He's muted.
Nelson Riley.
Thumbs up. Nelson Riley.
So moved, yes. Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Len Karen,
Approve.
Chad Riley,
Approved.
Deborah Robinson,
Approved.
And the chair approves. So are there any other items? I think we'll have a discussion of sort of our future stuff in a minute. Do you want to wrap up the meeting and make sure don't have to record anything if it's not relevant to a discussion, but any other items to discuss? Okay, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded.
Okay, and the vote is Bob Dermody,
Yes, I move we adjourn. I second, I vote yes.
Nelson Hammer,
Yes.
Len Karen,
Yes.
Chad Riley,
Yes.
Deborah Robinson,
Yes.
and the chair is in favor. So we're adjourned. See all the fun you've been missing?